Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're new here, my name is Josh, and just a few months ago, I think it was like 4 or 5 months ago, marked the 5-year anniversary of me getting into a career as a financial advisor. And there's been many things that have happened in between then and now, but I think there's just kind of a lack of information out there about what does it actually take to make it in this career. We know the first 5 years are notoriously extremely difficult, and no one's really talking about this. And this is really going to be, relatable to any sort of business you're starting, whether you want to ditch your 9-to-5 and start a side hustle or get started in whatever business. Those first 5 years are always super difficult. But anyways, I just wanted to first of all say, I'm loving this. This is a ton of fun, learning from you guys in the comments and going back and forth, and we're gaining subscribers and building a community here. So if you guys want to be part of that, you want to learn more about what does it take to be a financial advisor? How can I learn more about investing in finance and wealth? Make sure to hit that subscribe button below so you can see more videos come out like this one all the time, and join the family that we're starting to grow here. We appreciate that a ton. But anyways, I want to talk about those first 5 years and help you kind of understand, is this a career that you could get into if you wanted to be a financial advisor? Maybe you've heard about it from a family or a friend, or God forbid you're being recruited by one of these financial advisory firms who's going to make a bunch of money off of you. No matter what it is that you're doing, whether you're trying to leave the 9-to-5 or do whatever it might be, or leaving the traditional realm of employment, it's very uneasy. It's very nerve-wracking because there's no guarantees anymore. And whatever your business you are in or starting, you're going to feel that way. And that's super difficult, but that's a leap that you have to take. 5 years ago, I made that leap. And to where I am now, to the point where, we're doing pretty well. And we're to the point where 5 years in, we don't really have to go out and get clients anymore. We're not really prospecting like crazy or grinding super late hours trying to find people for our business. The demand is actually large enough 5 years in that we have to actually start hiring other advisors to help take on that demand. And now we're struggling with a different problem, which is there's enough opportunities coming in. How do we actually make sure that they're all taken care of and that we don't build up this massive waiting list and destroy our brand value? But at first, it did not start that way whatsoever. And let me tell you this, when you get into the business, if you are going the route where you are going to be building your own book of clients, it is unbelievably difficult. And the way I would illustrate this is that my first client ever, after getting into the business, passing all my exams, doing all those things, prospecting, setting up meetings, my first client had $500 and $50 every single month. That is insane. And for me, at that point, I would have made about 0.5% of my assets under management, which at the time was $500. And what that means is, in my first month, I was set up to make $2.50 per year. And yeah, that's no way for anybody to live. That is just not it whatsoever. To now, 5 years later, like I said, there's enough prospects coming in and we have over $10 million under management, and now we're earning a much larger percentage. And it's just really those first 5 years that are so difficult. And why is that necessarily? It's because, anybody in the world could potentially be your client when you're a financial advisor. Every single person could use some sort of financial product, whether it's investing or tax planning or a mortgage or whatever it might be. And what that also means is there's a massive pool of people already filling that demand. It's a very popular career. There's a lot of people out there doing it. And what that means is there's just a lot of competition you're going to have to deal with. And when you have no credibility and you're just getting into the business, you have to find a way to get that initial inertia, I would say, get that momentum. And getting that momentum is really the difficult part. So in my mind, the first thing you need to ask yourself if you want to decide, okay, is this a career that I could do, is, are you ready to make a massive sacrifice? And I mean, the reason this career is awesome is because once you're over that hump of the first 5 years for sure, and what I've heard is that it gets even better after 10 years and it just compounds and gets better and better, you're essentially trading a horrible start to your career for a really good future. You're front loading all the struggles so that the end gets easier and easier. And to be honest, most entrepreneurial ventures, if you're going to start a business, are like this. They're very similar to that. You have to essentially in this career have your foot on the gas for sure 100% until you have at least 100 clients and until you've been in the business for at least 2 years. Because if you don't give it 2 years, you don't build up the reputation as somebody who is referable, and you don't actually build any brand value, and the word of mouth doesn't really get around as much. And in an industry like financial management or investment management, the real marketing is never going to be ads you put on the internet. It's never going to be you shouting at people or cold calling or whatever. It's going to be word of mouth. Because when you're making a decision as big as where are you going to invest your money, you want to make sure that you have some sort of referral or some sort of trust with a human that's referring you. You're not going to click an ad online and all of a sudden give your life savings to some guy. So it's really important to stay in it. Now, when I say sacrifice, I didn't see my best friends for an entire year in my first year. And I'm a very social person. I'm always out and about. I'm always loving to socialize. I didn't see a friend. I think I saw a couple friends once over the course of a 12-month period, because I needed to be in the job or else I wouldn't survive. Like I said, I was at the beginning making $2.50 for that year if I didn't go and get more and more clients. So what you're trying to do is build up this clientele to the point where all of their cumulative assets kick out a large enough billable fee for you to survive on. And for most people, that is going to be, a minimum of $5 million. For me, I was like 19 years old, so that wasn't really going to go very well. I didn't really have any connections to people who were extremely wealthy because I was young and all my friends were just getting started in their careers and didn't have all that much money to invest, obviously. But that's really the sacrifice, is that in those first 2 years, you have to say yes to everything. If someone wants you to volunteer somewhere, you have to say yes. If someone wants you to take a look at their stuff and not give you the business, you have to say yes. You have to be a complete yes man for 2 years, because you have to open as many doors as possible to meet new people or to establish yourself or to get involved in the community. It's like a lot of responsibility that you're going to have to take. I remember I was going into work in the morning, working until the evening, and then I would volunteer on sports teams and work on boards of charities and work at my school. Like, there were all sorts of things that I was doing just to get doors open. Now, it's easy to get blindsided by like how good this career could be, because we all see, when you're getting recruited or when you're hearing success stories, it's talking about all these different financial advisors who make a bunch of money and they have great work-life balance and they seem like very successful and well accomplished. And a lot of people start to think, how much money could I make if I got into the business? How much money could I make in my first year, my second year? Could I surpass my current 9-to-5 income and get into this? And that is the absolute incorrect way to look at this. You cannot look at it that way, because what you really need to do is realize that you are in an absolute marathon, and you need to think about, okay, I am not doing this the fast way. I am going to see if I can stay in the game. Because the great thing about this career is if you can survive 5 years, you're probably going to do really well. You just have to get over that initial momentum building, like I said. But the way you want to look at this is, what is the minimum I'm willing to make in order to stay in the business, right? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. What is the minimum amount of money I need so that I'm not going into debt, so that I'm covering my expenses? And that's what your first few years are gonna be. You are going to be completely breaking even, and you need to know, okay, is it 30,000? Is it 20,000? Is it 10,000? What's the amount of money I need to make in order to just stay in this? For me, in my first year, I finished off my first year with $1 million in assets under management. I mean, to some people, depending on where you're from, that might seem like a lot. That is nothing. That is like zero. You cannot make a living off of that. So I had to do all sorts of things and cut out of my budget and find side hustles and find ways to make money so that I can even get through those first 2 years. All of those clients that you're building up at first are going to seem big to you, and over time, those clients you got initially will get smaller and smaller as every couple months you'll hit the record for what your new biggest client is. And for me, my first client was 500. So when I got one that had 10,000, it was like, wow, that's way more. And then you get one that's 50,000 and that's way more. And I remember getting the first client that was like over $500,000, and it completely changed our entire business. It was like, oh my goodness, we have a client here that is like, what? Would that be 100,000 times bigger than our first client? Like, that's crazy to think about how it scales that way. And from that point on, it was like, every client you get becomes a weight off your shoulders, especially once you get to the point where, okay, my living expenses are covered, I'm not gonna go bankrupt. But I think the last thing you really need to be thinking about is, can I put my ego to the side? And this is one that I wasn't particularly good at, because I went into this career as a guy who thought he was all that, if I'm quite honest. I was an overeager young person. I hadn't really been humbled by the world yet, and I wanted to make it seem that I was successful even though I was just getting started. And anybody above you can see right through you, so you're not really doing any favors. But it's hard because you're living this dichotomy where you're trying to advise people on their finances because you're educated and you're correct and you have the right philosophies and you're actually providing a service, but at the same time, you're not exactly walking the walk because you're barely making ends meet. So it's a really tough thing to juggle. It makes you want to almost signal that you're doing better than you are. And that is one of the areas where you just need to be able to take your medicine. I think if I could go back and do it again, I would try to remove my ego from it as much as possible and realize, hey, I'm starting from brand new. I'm starting from scratch. There's no expectation on me to be successful. What I need to do is do whatever in my power to make sure that I survive. And like I said, get past those first 2 years and even past those first 5 years, because after that, things will run really well. But anyways, guys, I've just been getting so much engagement and comments in my DMs on even LinkedIn and in the comments here and on Facebook and Instagram, talking, you know, from the perspective of other people who are getting started in this career and they want to learn more about what it took to get here. So that's my message today for what it kind of takes and what I would tell a new advisor if they were getting into the business. But anyways, guys, if you're getting any value out of these videos whatsoever, make sure to hit that like button below if you enjoy this video. Hit subscribe so you can get more videos just like this one every single week. Until next time.